Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Monica Okoma, and if you are a returning subscriber, what it do, baby? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a bit different. It's a sit down video and I'm gonna be answering some of the questions that I asked you guys to ask me on Friday on Instagram in regards to transitions. Now, if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you do at Monica Okoma. Y'all asked me some juicy questions, so I'm gonna get into it. Also, disclaimer, what you're hearing now is my baby, so yeah. So my first question is, how do you balance all your responsibilities? Truth is, I don't feel like I do. The only thing that I think I do is I have different priorities in different mini seasons, if that makes sense. So for example, now I recently went back to working a full-time job, so the priority right now is making sure I'm creating a good balance work-wise and family-wise, if that makes sense. So when I come back, me and my husband have a routine. I kind of showed you guys a bit of it in my last vlog, but when I come back I spend time with my daughter and things like that. But I just kind of, I don't know, I work in compartments. I don't know how I do it, sis. I'm not gonna lie to you. If any moms are watching and they have tips, let me know. I can't explain to you how I balance these things. So I don't know how I do it. I literally just do, and then, you know, I get overwhelmed and then I start again. If I'm being honest. Okay, Nikki, what a way to answer a question. Okay, my next question is, how do you carve out time for yourself? Honestly, I'm still working on that. I feel like now, especially in my marriage, we're really trying to find the balance between being one but being individuals at the same time. So having things that we personally like, for example, like my husband's like a really big game fan, you know, so I'm learning how to give him space and also give myself space, but I'm still learning what that looks like for me. It looks different before I had a child. When I have alone time, sometimes I get that mum guilt because it's just like, I haven't seen my daughter all day. I literally see her 2 full days a week, which is Saturday and Sunday. So carving out alone time now is a lot harder. Yeah, and I've also created, I'm creating a comfortable environment within my new flat, which really helps. My bathroom has candles in it and stuff like that. So when I'm doing my everyday things like showering or brushing my teeth and stuff like that, it's low-key therapeutic because it's such a calming atmosphere for me. My next question is, what has been the hardest moments of your transitions? I've had different transitions. So in 2016, I transitioned from being single to being engaged. In 2018, I transitioned from being engaged to being a wife. And in 2020, I transitioned from being a wife to being a wife and a mother. And I think the hardest bits is when you know you're transitioning, because I feel that stage for me can get very overwhelming because it's uncharted territory for you. You don't know how it looks like, and because you don't know how it looks like, you can develop expectations. Whether they're healthy or not, you still have expectations, if that makes sense. For example, when I was getting married, that was so difficult. The process was so hard. It was pruning, it was life-changing. It affected me mentally, it was really hard. And I think that's because I really think during transitions, it's really important to, number one, allow the peace of God to work in you and through you. So literally by keeping your mind stayed on him. And whenever I transition, that's the one thing that I keep my mind on. I always remember the scripture where it says, you keep him in perfect peace, his whose mind is stayed on you. And that scripture literally keeps me through all of my transitions, because things can get really messy, things can get cloudy. You've got so many people's voices. For example, transitioning into a mum, you've got people saying do this, do that, do this, do that. But as long as your mind is stayed on him, the peace that surrounds you is so surreal. So essentially, I think the hardest part is not only the process, but it's landing where you're transitioning into and just kind of adjusting to the small bits, if that makes any sense, guys. But yeah. So my next question is, what is it like splitting finances after marriage? Do you know what? I'm gonna be real with you guys. It's actually, I found it difficult. I found it so difficult, and I'll be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie, it's an honest channel. Splitting finances was extremely difficult for me because it was difficult for me to understand that we are one, in the sense that my money is your money is my money. I'm like, bro, you weren't with me shooting in the gym. I'm joking. But no, I'm kind of just like, okay, but I got up, I went to work, I busted them hours, I busted my back, and now we should share my money. That's genuinely how I saw it. So for example, like with my husband, like in the first year, I'm the kind of person where it's like, oh Nikki, how much money have you got in your account? And then I could have £600. I'll say, oh yeah man, I've got 250 left. And it's those, literally, like, that's how I am. So I would genuinely do that to my husband when we were married, and I used to feel so bad because I thought, Nikki, like, you're not being real. What we have now is that we've basically had a joint account, and honestly we only implemented that in our marriage this year, and it was me that said, you know what, I want to go for it, because I knew that it was me that was kind of being the barrier between us joining our finances. And I really feel like it was an area where the enemy could definitely infiltrate and possibly attack our marriage, because I wasn't honest with my money, I wasn't transparent with my finances, you know, and it was a space where I did not want them to come in. Like when it came to my finances, the door was literally closed. I don't need you to know that I spent £50 at Pretty Little Thing, or that I spent £30 at Boohoo. Like, you don't need to know that every single morning I buy hot chocolate for £3.95. You don't need to know that, because I don't want nobody pulling me up on what I've bought. That's literally how I felt. And then I remember when I was pregnant, and there was a time where I was like, okay, we were joining, we started using our joint account, and these times I was only doing hair, so I wasn't working a 9 to 5. I didn't have a lot of money, so the little bits of money I'd put in the joint account. And I remember we went out to eat, and I'm the kind of person, like, if me and my husband go out to eat, like, I like to splash, he likes to splash, but I love it when I can treat him, and, you know, like vice versa. But I remember we went out to eat, and you know, we were eating, and I wanted to get something on the menu, but I kept pulling myself back because I thought, nah, it's his money, it's his money. And then he was like, you know, babe, like, why aren't you picking what you want? And I was kind of like, oh, you know, like, I don't want to spend your money. And I remember him saying, it's not a matter of you spending my money, it's a matter of, can we afford it? It's our money. And the way that blessed me, I was just like, Lord. Whew. Honestly, splitting finances is something that I'm still working through, and you know, it's something that is not easy, but I think it's something that takes like a lot of communication and honesty, like real honesty, because I don't think you understand how important your history or your relationship with money actually affects your marriage. Because finances is one of the biggest things that you do. Like, you join in your finances, like, you pay rent, you pay bills, you've got to adjust, you know what I mean? It's been a journey, it hasn't been easy, I'm still working through it, I'm still fighting off the pride that I have when it comes to money, and I'm trying to literally be intentional about being humble and not being such an individual where it's like, this is my money, I'm Mrs. Independent, we can't share. Like, I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that will allow our marriage to progress. So yeah, that's how it was for me. So my next question is, how was sex life after having a baby? Girl, I'm gonna keep it real, I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm gonna keep it PG. So sex life after baby. So I remember when hubby got me and my baby up from the hospital. I don't know what it was, if it was my hormones or what, I don't know what, who, where, I don't know what it was, honey, but he just became 100 times more attractive to me, and it was annoying because I couldn't do anything about it. Like, I was in pain, my area had been stitched up, I could barely use the toilet, I couldn't sit down, I couldn't walk. So you can imagine, it's like, yeah, like my, I don't know, libido was like here when like when I just had the baby. Like, I was so aroused all the time. Like, whenever I looked at him, I was thinking, Lord Jesus, if I want healing, oh my God. So yeah, like in the beginning, I was just like, it was frustrating for me because I just thought, oh, like I can't, like we can't do anything. And then post that time, it was difficult. So when we actually started trying to have sex again, it was very difficult. And it was difficult obviously because my body wasn't the same. I couldn't do what I used to do. I couldn't, like, my body just was not the same. Everything just hurt. And so that was very difficult, but I'm grateful because he had a lot of patience towards me. But in terms of sex life, it was difficult for me as well because there were times where, for example, like, we'd want to have sex, but my daughter's crying. And I used to feel so torn because I used to feel like my daughter's crying, but my husband wants to make love. Like, who do I choose? Who do I pick? And there was that constant, like, tug and pull of, oh my gosh, like, I need to cater to my daughter, but I don't want my husband to feel like he's not loved. And obviously, like obviously he knows that he's loved, but you know what I mean, like, I don't want him to feel neglected in that area. Though he understood, it's still a valid feeling that I had within myself. So the first few months were quite difficult, but it was because it was adjusting, and you can't do any quickies because my body couldn't do that. I was still healing. So, you know, it was like a very slow, like, sex was very slow. Like, it wasn't like, you know, we could do what we want. It was very slow, making sure, you know, it doesn't hurt in certain areas, etc, etc, keeping it PG, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so that was difficult. But I think now we've literally just gotten back into a rhythm, and it took us, because my baby's 6 months now, I think from like 4 months, 3-4 months, that's when our sex life went pretty much back to normal. But the first 3 months, it was a lot of adjusting. And I remember the first time that we actually had sex after I had a baby, I just cried because it just reminded me of giving birth. Like, anything in that area, I just thought, oh, I'm pushing her out. Like, it was weird, but it was difficult for me, and I had to adjust mentally, physically, and allow him into my space again. But yeah, man, it wasn't easy at all. It was a journey. It still is a journey. But yeah, it's been beautiful, to say the least. I think it brings you closer because you have to be so meticulous, so understanding, and I think it's a beautiful experience. As painful as it is physically, I think it's really beautiful having a baby and then, you know, working out your love life with your partner. My next question is, what's your favorite thing about being a mum? Honestly, I want to say everything, but I'm not trying to be like airy fairy. I think genuinely my favorite thing about being a mum is just seeing her grow. It's seeing her hit milestones. And there's so many times where I just look at her and I'm like, I'm so proud of you. And then my husband will be like, what are you proud of her for? And I'm like, for growing, for hitting milestones, for challenging herself. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the favorite thing, where you see your child grow, you see your child hit milestones. Like, she's starting to learn how to crawl, she's teething right now, she's got 2 little teeth, and that's my most favorite thing. It's just seeing her grow, seeing her develop, seeing her try, and being there to encourage her. That's my most favorite thing about being a mum. My next question is, what is your relationship like with your partner now? Closer or further apart? Now that I've had a baby, definitely closer, 100% closer. It did not bring us further apart at all, 100% closer. And I think it's because, like, me and my husband, we love transparency in our marriage. Like, we're so transparent. Like, transparency is what brings us closer. We get to do life together, we get to raise our child together. So in terms of us having a child, it definitely brought us closer together, not further apart. But I think that what's been challenging after having my daughter is how we parent. I think that's the most challenging thing that we've had to adjust to. We have very, very, very different parenting techniques. My husband is a lot more, okay, you know, she's 6 months, she's independent, she can do this, she can do that. I'm more like, no, I'm her mom, let me do this, let me do that. So we have different parenting styles. I'm learning not to judge my husband because of how he parents, and not to make him feel lesser than, and him not making me feel lesser than, if that makes sense. You know, like, for example, I remember when it came to sleeping. So I used to sleep with my daughter, like, I used to co-sleep with her, and she used to wake up all the time, cry throughout the night. Like, she would wake up like 3, 4, 5 times. And I'd be like, okay, you know what, like, and like in those times when I wanted to have a break, because we had a bigger house, I'd go upstairs in the spare bedroom and I'd sleep there, and I'd let my daughter like have her for the night. Best believe the whole night my girl's sleeping. She's only waking up at like 8 a.m. in the morning to have milk. And I was like, rah. And he kept saying, see, I'm telling you, it's you. She acts up with you, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay. All right, princess. I see how you're maneuvering. I see what you're doing. But yeah, I think that's the only thing that's probably been the most challenging thing is yeah, I think that's the only thing that's been the most challenging, adjusting to each other's parenting styles and not judging each other for how we parent. But other than that, no, definitely brought us closer together. Nah, man, like, be good, be straight. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm joking, but nah, yeah, brought us. Yeah, I don't see how it would bring us further apart because like my husband is my priority. As well as my daughter's my priority. Like, I married my husband. If our marriage isn't okay, then there's no way that there's no way that we can give our daughter the best of us together as a unit. She's the fruit of our love, if that makes sense. So if our love isn't worked on, how is she gonna be receiving the best from us? And so nah, it could not bring us further apart, because how I see it is that if it brought us further apart, then, you know, I'd feel like we'd have our priorities wrong, if that makes sense. Like how I see it, it's like a triangle. So it's like me and my husband, my daughter, and we just flow. Do you know what I mean? Like, we are her covering, we're also her foundation. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I mean, in the future, in terms of us going further apart, I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. But obviously there'll be things in life where it's like, okay, you know, adjusting, you might, you know, whatever. But I think for now, yeah, definitely closer together. I mean, we're a unit, man. We're good, man. We besties. Low cringe, ew. My next question was, what was your most difficult transition? Getting married. Getting married was my most difficult transition, period. Getting married was the hardest one. Hardest one, not physically, but in terms of like difficult transition, getting married was the hardest one. And that's because it involves so many people. Even though when you're getting married it's just the two of you, because there's so many voices, so many opinions, and the voices and opinions are from those that you loved. And it's like, when you're getting married, it's like you have to learn to shut out those voices, even if it's your parents, your mum, your dad, your siblings. Like, you have to learn to shut it off and turn on the voices that are most important to you. And honestly, for me, that was the Lord and my husband to be. Like, I'm coming into union with you. It's not easy when you're dealing with family, when you're dealing with people that you love. You know, situations get blown out of proportion. So yeah, getting married was the most difficult transition that I've ever faced. A lot more difficult than being a mum. I think being a mum is almost like second nature. You kind of flow into it, for me anyway. But yeah, becoming a wife was very difficult for me, very difficult. And then even like our transition, like just into marriage, once we came back from our honeymoon, you know, being at home, that was difficult. So that was my hardest transition. And you know what, the reason why it was my hardest transition, if I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I had a lot of unmet expectations. I had a lot of unmet expectations, and it wasn't even from my husband, it was from our environment. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. My heart got real sick, you know, I think in our first year and a half of marriage, because of a lot of unmet expectations. And obviously when your expectations are unmet, you now have to go through a journey of healing. When your expectation is not met, your heart definitely gets sick, because you are hoping for that expected thing, and that expected thing never came. And so you have to heal from the fact that, damn, I wanted this and this didn't happen. And you have to kind of like, yeah, you have to accept it, learn from it, and then move on. And I think that was very difficult. Yeah, sorry guys, I had to go get my baby because she was crying. My next question after that is, when it came to sex after birth, was that a problem for you? And now have you worked through? I think for me, giving birth was low-key a traumatic experience. If you haven't watched my labor and delivery story, I'll put it in the card somewhere, or I'll link it somewhere in the video. But yeah, I basically almost had her on the toilet seat. And so whenever any sort of pain came to that area, for me, it would always like trigger this like traumatic response, because I'd be like quite frightened. And with that, honestly, it just took a lot of communication, took a lot of transparency, like explaining to my husband that, listen, babe, this is paining me. I'm joking. Yeah, conversation, understanding, patience, honestly and truly. So working through it, we just, you know, I think bit by bit. And I think when you have sex post baby, I think it's not healthy to put on this expectation of what sex will be like after baby, and not put pressure on yourself. the first time it may not go how you envisioned it, and that's okay. Like, your body's healing, like it's actually okay. So yeah, man, in terms of us working through it, it's a lot of conversation, like literally having conversations whilst, you know, having sex and stuff like that. Like, honestly and truly, like that's the best way for you to kind of like journey through it, if that makes sense. But another question was, how have you dealt with changes of your body after giving birth while married? I'll be honest, all my life I've had an issue with my body. I've always felt like I was big. I've always felt like I was fat. Even when I wasn't fat, I felt like I was fat. Do you know what I mean? So and that's because I've had a lot of pressure from I've just had a lot of pressure to look a particular way, to lose weight, to, you know, have like be of a particular standard, not only from myself but from like other people. And when I was pregnant, that was pretty much the only time in my entire life where I did not feel the pressure to look a certain way. I did not feel the pressure to have a certain body type. I didn't feel the pressure to watch what you're eating or make sure you're not losing weight. And do you know what? I won't lie to you, it was so toxic, because I remember when I was pregnant, though I had a lot of morning sickness, I just wouldn't eat. There were days like my first trimester, I think I was lucky if I got 1 meal in a day. Like my first trimester, because I was so frightened, I was so scared of adding weight, of being big, of, you know, like looking ridiculous. I think that because of my insecurities, I didn't give my body the best chance to produce my baby in the best way, or to help my baby in the best way. But yeah, so post-pregnancy is when I was like, crap, I'm not pregnant anymore. I can't make an excuse. Wow, I'm fat. So after I had Amara, my daughter, straight away I lost all the weight. All the weight I added on, I lost it within 2 weeks. It was all gone. And then it all started piling up. And that's been the hardest part. I've just been like, nah, I'm fat. It's difficult looking in the mirror, I won't lie to you. I'm definitely having to work on self-love again. You know, I didn't have stretch marks throughout my whole pregnancy. Stretch marks came after. So a lot of the things that I'm encountering that I thought I'd encounter in pregnancy, I'm encountering them after. You know, my shoe size is different. My stomach is just not moving. It's just there. Like my fupa is a fupa. You know, and you know, dealing with my body, especially in marriage, was hard, because I just thought my husband ain't gonna see me the same. Like, I'm not as sexy as I used to be. But you know what? It is what it is. I'm a mum. I just had your child, mate. Do you know what I mean? Giving myself that opportunity to just allow my body to be free, and it's the first time I've ever done it. It's the first time I've ever been like, do you know what, Nikki? Just be free. I've never ever been free with my body. So it's refreshing, but it's difficult. Seeing my body how it is today, I'm just like, whoa, honey, you need to lose some weight. But at the same time, I'm like, nah, man, like you need to lose weight, but you need to calm down at the same time. Let your body, you know, do itself. I think my only priority is just to make sure that for my second pregnancy, I'm a lot fitter than I was for my first. But yeah, my next question is, how do you practice self-care as a wife and now as a mum? Honestly, sis, I think I'm still learning that. But I've learned that self-care for me, so you've got two elements. So for example, like the more like calm element for me is like my eyelashes, my hair. Like before, I would just do my hair or my eyelashes or my nails when I had to go somewhere, or I had an event, or where, you know, it was necessary. Now I just do it because I want to do it and I want to feel good, I want to look good. I do my hair when it gets messy. I do my lashes because I want to. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of self-care, that's how I like have started practicing it for myself. But in terms of me as a wife and as a mom, self-care, I'm looking to implement therapy. And because, you know, as you grow as an adult, you realize that you have certain traumas that you haven't taken care of, and if you're not careful, they can affect your children, they can affect your marriage. So self-care in that aspect, I'm still yet to enter that section of self-care. In terms of like physical, yeah, I do it. Like I get my hair done, or I'll go for a nail appointment, or, you know, set myself a nice bath kind of thing. But I'm still learning what that looks like as well in terms of self-care for me. I'm still learning what that is other than the normal, you know, do your hair, do your nails, spa, date, massage kind of thing. But yeah guys, that is my video on transition. But thank you so much to every single person that responded on my Instagram, that sent me questions, and that also sent me video ideas on what they want to see next. Guys, I genuinely from the bottom of my heart appreciate it, because you didn't have to, but you did. So I really appreciate it. Guys, we are literally on the road to 1K. Please do what you can to help me reach that milestone. Please share the video, like, comment, and yeah, make sure you let me know what you want to see next. I really appreciate you guys, and I love you guys, and thank you so much for hanging out with me on today's video, and I shall see you next Sunday. Bye guys.